Hey everyone, good to see you. It's Saturday of Holy Week. When skeptics argue against the resurrection of Christ, they often use this argument. They say Christ never came back from the dead. He did not rise again on that first resurrection Sunday morning, but instead his grave was empty because the disciples broke into the tomb, stole his body, buried it at a secret place, but told the rest of the world that he had actually risen from the dead. So Scripture gives one short account of what happened on Saturday of Holy Week. And I have my wife here today. She's going to read some of these verses for us.
On the next day, which followed the day of preparation, the chief priests and Pharisees gathered together to Pilate, saying, "Sir, we remember while he was still alive how that the deceivers said, 'After 3 days I will rise.' Therefore command that the tomb be made secure until the third day, lest his disciples come by night and steal him away, and say to the people, 'He is risen from the dead.' So the last deception will be worse than the first." Pilate said to them, "You have a guard, go your way, and make it as secure as you know how." So they went and made the tomb secure, sealing the stone and setting the guard.
Thanks, babe. So the chief priest who were responsible for the death of Christ, the same chief priest who had gone to Pilate earlier and begged for Pilate to crucify Christ, now go back to Pilate and say, "We want to put this whole thing to an end. Not only do we want to make sure that Christ is dead, but we want to make sure that no one steals his body and that there is this last great deception that the disciples pull off. They sell this hoax to the world and people keep following this person who claimed to be the Messiah, the King of the Jews." Well, wouldn't you know it, that the very thing that the scribes asked Pilate to do, and the thing that he agreed to do, to take guards and put them at the tomb of Christ, is actually the very thing that helps establish evidence that Christ did indeed come back from the dead. They wouldn't have been able to have gotten up on that first resurrection Sunday morning and said, "Someone stole his body." And the reason they couldn't say it is because they were the ones responsible for putting guards at the tomb to prevent that stealing from happening in the first place. So here's the lesson. Even though the scripture is a little bit silent about what happens on Saturday, even though we have no words of Christ on Saturday, he's in the grave, even though God seems to be silent on Saturday, we know that he is still working, and it's the same for you. Even when God may seem silent or absent, he's still at work, doing something great for you behind the scenes. I'll see you tomorrow on Easter Sunday.